Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Derek Lee Forward, Vice President of the Ohio Conference of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and President of the Dayton branch NAACP. I bring you greetings on behalf of all of the members throughout the Great Buckeye State of Ohio, where the Honorable Tom Roberts serves as our president. I would like to thank Congressman Mike Turner for the opportunity to bring remarks during this historic spring North Atlantic Treaty Organization Parliamentary Assembly right here in the Gem City. It's ironic that NATO has come to Dayton, the birthplace of aviation. As I was just in Washington, D.C. last year, along with my wife, Tawana, lobbying members of Congress. And afterwards, we received a tour of the Pentagon from Lieutenant Colonel retired Richard Matthews. We actually took pictures in the NATO corridor, and here I am today in my hometown of Dayton, Ohio, witnessing NATO in action. I am honored to stand before you to provide insight on the role of cultural exchanges in building lasting ties. Cultural exchanges play a pivotal role in fostering lasting ties between countries and communities by promoting mutual understanding, respect, and collaboration. These exchanges involve sharing traditions like art, language, cuisine, music, and other cultural elements which help bridge gaps and build connections at both the individual and societal levels. Now let me expound upon a few key components of this topic. Number one, fostering mutual understanding and reducing stereotypes. Cultural exchanges expose people to the values, beliefs, and lifestyles of others, breaking down stereotypes and misconceptions. For example, when students participate in exchange programs, they experience daily life in another country, gaining firsthand insight that challenges preconceived notions. By humanizing the other, these interactions reduce prejudice and foster empathy. In the words of my beloved mother, Dr. Gloria J. Forward, treat others better than expected, and the Lord will bless you more abundantly. Number two, strengthening diplomatic and economic ties. Cultural exchanges often complement formal diplomacy, creating soft power that strengthens bilateral relationships. Countries use cultural diplomacy, such as art exhibitions or film festivals, to showcase their heritage and values, building goodwill. Last year, citizens throughout the Dayton region had an opportunity to visit the Dayton Art Institute to witness an historic art exhibit titled Reflections in Time. Dayton branch NAACP celebrates history. This year, citizens in Detroit, Michigan are currently witnessing the second Dayton branch NAACP art exhibit titled Everyday People. Moreover, our community is blessed to have artists like Willis Bean Davis, a renowned artist and teacher whose art can be found in public and private collections across the USA and around the world. And James Pate, a visual artist whose large-scale charcoal drawings and highly detailed works named Techno-Cubism drape the walls of the Dayton Art Institute and the Black Palais Art Gallery. Art has the power to move people and evoke emotions that words cannot express, which some of you witnessed with DC a few days ago. Number three, encouraging people-to-people connections. Grassroots interactions such as homestays, volunteer programs, or sister city partnerships create personal bonds that outlast political tensions. These relationships often lead to lifelong friendships and collaborations. Number four, promoting cultural preservation and innovation. Exchanges allow communities to share and preserve their cultural heritage while learning from others. For example, UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage Program, which encourages countries to showcase traditional practice, ensuring they are valued globally. At the same time, cultural exchanges spark innovation by blending traditions. Number five, enhancing education and knowledge sharing. Academic exchanges such as student or faculty programs promote the sharing of ideas and expertise. University hosting international students or collaborative research projects contribute to global knowledge networks. Language exchanges like tandem learning programs not only teach linguistic skills, but also deepen cultural appreciation as learners discuss idioms, slang, and cultural contexts. In 1978, the NAACP AXO program was founded by Vernon Jarrett. AXO stands for Afro-Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics. It was created to provide a platform for African Americans youth to showcase their academic, artistic, and scientific talents. Axel students have gone on to travel the world showcasing their art. And finally, number 6, building resilience against conflict. Cultural exchanges create networks of understanding that can mitigate tensions during conflicts. When communities have prior positive interactions, they are more likely to seek dialogue over division. Historical examples, like the US-Soviet Union cultural exchanges during the Cold War, show how culture can maintain open channels even amidst political hostility. While cultural exchanges are powerful, they face 3 major challenges: cultural appropriation, inequity in access, and political barriers. In conclusion, cultural exchanges build lasting ties by fostering empathy, collaboration, and mutual respect. They create networks of individuals and communities who value the diversity and work towards common goals, whether through diplomacy, education, or shared creativity. By addressing challenges like inequity and appropriation, countries and communities can maximize the potential of cultural exchanges to create a more connected and harmonious world. And I leave you with excerpts from a powerful hymn often associated with the culture of the Black community. We have come over a way that the tears have been watered. We have come trading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of the bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far along the way, Thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Now it is my distinct honor to introduce the moderator of this session, the Honorable Tom McDonald, former U.S. Ambassador to Zimbabwe. Welcome to Dayton, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dayton.
Good afternoon, everybody. So great to be with you. We got a little lights on up here for all of us, and you can get a good look. I'm Tom McDonald, a partner at Taft, Stettinius, and Hollister. We're here in Dayton with a lot of lawyers and jobs, and I had been the American ambassador to Zimbabwe from 1997 to 2001. If any of you recall embassy bombings in East Africa, that was a very serious thing going on. Luckily, Harare was not touched, but there were significant damage and loss of life, especially in Nairobi. And the other bomb was August 7th, 1998, a date I'll never forget. There was another bomb that went off at the American Embassy in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. We are here to talk about the cultural exchanges, the value of these to building ties. I want to make a few preliminary comments and then introduce the panel that's very distinguished. We want to have a robust conversation among and between the panelists. We also want to allocate some time toward the end for Q&A. So folks in the audience, I'm glad you've moved down front so we can actually see you and interact. Let me first pay a bit of tribute to a late friend of mine and mentor, the late Ronald H. Brown, who was Secretary of Commerce in 1996. You would have heard from your distinguished Congress member, Mike Turner, here during these proceedings, that he went with Secretary Mickey Cantor out to the region, out to Bosnia with a business delegation. Well, that delegation first went with Ronald H. Brown, Secretary of Commerce before Mr. Cantor. And Mr. Brown unfortunately died in a military air plane crash into a mountain near Dubrovnik in Croatia. And this was in April in the region. And this was a great loss to the United States. And he also, Ron Brown, the late Ron Brown, some of you may know, played a role here in bringing us to the Dayton Peace Accord. And so I wanted to take that moment to pay tribute to him. I personally was in Bosnia in the summer of 1996 with Ambassador Holbrooke and had an opportunity in the aftermath of the genocide and ethnic cleansing to personally see what had happened in Gorazda and Srebrenica, the places where men and boys were separated from the women and children. The men and boys would often be shot. The towns were then burned out. All we were able to see in the summer of 1996 was the scorched remains of cinder block buildings. As we look forward to where culture can be of assistance here, I did want to point out during my tour of duty in a country called Zimbabwe that had lots of challenges and continues to, I, as the American ambassador, went one-on-one with the late President Robert Mugabe, a dictator, smart, and evil. And in the face of all of that, we still found places to bond and culture to promote, to bring peoples together. The peoples of Zimbabwe are always close to my heart. We were there for some very significant elections. The only election Mugabe ever lost was during my term there in early 2000 when he lost a constitutional referendum. There then was the unleashing of the thugs on the farms and killings, rapes, really its own form of just despicable behavior. I ended up closing the Peace Corps program there, given safety concerns, and sent 200 very diverse young Americans home because no one was going to be injured or, God forbid, killed on my watch there. But we did the Harare International Festival of the Arts. If you all remember Serafina, Freedom is Coming, that powerful movie that came out around the time of the end of apartheid. Serafina, we had come to Zimbabwe with a small dance troupe and her husband, the director. We did things that honored even the Youth Day that was honored in South Africa. You may remember that historic picture of Hector Peterson, who was the first young person killed in the Soweto riots of 1976. And so we connected with the Zimbabweans in many ways. But let me now turn to our panel. To my left and your right is the DC director, Debbie Blunden-Diggs. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you.
And next to her, to my immediate left, is the Sarajevo Philharmonic director, Verdan Tusi. Thank you, Verdan, for being here. To my immediate right is Adina Solovic. A good Irish kid like McDonald needs to go back to school. She is a Bosnian American joint citizen and artist, and next to her is Dayton's own Sister City Executive Director Bonnie Kling. So Adina, given this topic of cultural exchange in the context of building ties. What are your opening comments?
Well, thank you so much for the introduction. Maybe I'll use this opportunity to spell my last name properly.
You can, please.
So my name is Adina Seleskovich. I actually very strongly feel that art and culture have the power to connect and have the power to cross borders and barriers and all those differences that keep us separate. I was a 16-year-old exchange student in the United States in a small town in Pennsylvania when the war broke out, and I couldn't return back home. And at the moment where my entire universe collapsed and what I believed for my past was no longer valid and my present was non-existent and my future was very vague from that point on, it was art and creativity that actually allowed me to digest everything that was going on, not just in my life, but in the entire country. And I think that in any times, whether they're difficult, whether they're turbulent, Bosnia's had a very turbulent history, not just in the last 30 years, but in the last thousands of years. It's a place that is exactly on the line between the East and the West. Art can be that most amazing thing, both visual and performative arts, that can allow us to first navigate all the complexities that are around us, and second, to let us really experience our presence on this planet through a very primal form. Visual art is a primal form of human communication, and it is remarkable that we can connect with an image that was created maybe hundreds of years before we arrived on this planet, and that was created by somebody whose culture we can not even imagine, and yet we can connect to it. And that power of art is something that I have employed since I have now returned back to Bosnia after being a New York exhibiting artist for over 20 years. And after realizing that my role as an artist is a lot more than the luxury of a solitary studio practice, then now I really have to employ my craft, which is visual art, as something that can create public dialogue, that can connect people, that can really make ourselves and the country come maybe under a different spotlight. Bosnia, for me, is not a country of war. It is a country of peace. And that's what I keep saying, and that's what my art allows me to keep saying.
Wonderful, wonderful introductory remarks. Debbie, would you like to comment from your perspective here in Dayton and head of the dance company?
Yes, I mean, I totally agree and ditto everything you just said. I think that art is the connective tissue of humanity. I think it is the thing that we all intrinsically have in common. And the performing arts has the ability to transcend. It transcends boundaries. So I think viewing it from the lens of a dancer, which has been my lens my whole lifetime, it has given so many opportunities to connect and express and conjoin people together that on the surface have absolutely nothing in common. Absolutely nothing. But when we're congregated in the same space, if it's for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, whatever that length of time we are together, all of our differences float away. And that we can view the world collectively from the same space. And I think that's really magical. And I think having the opportunity to put what I really believed to the test, as DCDC has had the opportunity to tour internationally, has again been magic for me. To show up in a space where nobody spoke the same language, where nobody looked like us, nor that we looked like them, but for that performative moment, an hour and a half, 2 hours, we all shared the same humanity. And I think that is just the powerful magic of the arts. visual arts, performing arts, I think we collectively become joined in a human bond that I really would argue that any other thing can do that for us as humans.
And Debbie, you all performed Friday night. You wanted to take a minute and tell us about that?
Yes, we got the opportunity to perform. Hopefully you were there.
For the NATO delegation,
For the NATO
right?
delegation, I'm sorry, for the NATO delegation.
That's okay.
At the opening reception at the Dayton Art Institute, so you got to be in a beautiful art museum, but then you got to experience the movement of art. And to have that invitation given to us by Congressman Turner was really, really quite wonderful for the Dayton Contemporary Dance Company, a company rooted in the African American dance experience, to be able to share our culture, our stories with you all. And you know, it is my goal and my vision to have the company share those experiences in as many places around the world as possible. We have stories to tell, we have stories that connect, and you got to see a little bit of that on Friday evening, and I hope you enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed being there, sharing what we do with you all.
Thank you. You know, reflecting on Zimbabwe, the dance and the music, whether it was a little while ago, Paul Simon, I'm Going to Graceland, he recorded that in Zimbabwe with Zimbabwe musicians playing their own version of a guitar called an mbira, whether it was the Shona stone art, the hard stone like marble, whether it was the paintings. There was so much experience expressed, and Zimbabwe, just to get a reflection, it was Rhodesia prior to liberation in 1980, and it had its own form of apartheid and land being taken from the local Shona and Ndebele people. And much like South Africa or the American experience, music and dance was a way of them really trying to cope with the really difficult situations they're in. Bonnie, would you like to join in here, please, with your comments?
I agree with what everyone has said so far. And bringing art and culture, especially to youth, is something that's really important to me. When we have exchange programs come here, or if we have students that are going to be able to experience another culture, that's something that I always encourage. Even high school kids, when we have groups come in, I tell them, if you get the opportunity, do an exchange program so that you can experience something other than just the United States.
Thank you. Verdad, would you like to reflect from, as head of the Symphony in Sarajevo, how you would react and add some initial comments too?
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador. I'm sure every one of you heard this cultural connectivity. It connects people, art connects people. I'm sure everybody here heard that many, many times. But if we are honest, sometimes it's always in a kind of philosophy way. Sometimes you need to think about it. But let me tell you just one short story. How does it really work? At Thursday night, we have a concert in Schuster Center. There will be like 150 people on stage. I know for sure there are people from 20 countries, all over the place, all over the globe. And I also know that they don't speak all of them each other languages. They don't speak English all, I know that. But they will communicate, they will create, and they will cooperate, all of them on the stage without anything else. That's a culture, that's art. That's really one story, how does it work? All of humankind always claimed to be most intelligent, you know. But humankind made the borders. And then, look at this. That border can be crossed just with some paperwork, passports, permits, etc. But just for us, just for humankind. Every other creature, every other animal, anybody All these creatures can cross it. Everybody except us. But then comes culture. Then comes culture, then comes art. That's really one practical story, how does it connect. 15 years ago, we had really good program between America and Sarajevo Philharmonic. We had young people from America working with us. Right now, we also have 2 guys from the States, believe it or not, but they work for us in Sarajevo Philharmonic, in Sarajevo in Bosnia. Dayton has one very special connection. Sarajevo and Dayton is our sister city. Dayton Peace Accords, 30 years ago, my generation, I remember that. I remember that December, it was December, Ambassador. If somebody would have told me that in the middle of that year, 95, that from December it will be again normal, that we will travel, that we will have power on, that we will have water supply on, I wouldn't believe that. No way. But then Dayton Peace Accords happened, and this piece of globe connected to Bosnia and Herzegovina, to Sarajevo, and to my country. So let me also thank you for this opportunity to be here with us, and also to bring, thanks to Congressman Turner, to bring whole Sarajevo Philharmonic here again. Thank you.
Well, now another question, issue for the panel. So where do we go from here? What opportunities might there be to expand the Dayton-Bosnia connection? And where do we take, you know, we have the NATO delegation here with their meetings, and all the NATO countries are here. Obviously, that's part of the military establishment that needs to be continued across the Atlantic. But Adina, where does the culture fit into that, and where can we take this to another level?
I have to agree with.
I don't think that sounds like it's on.
That's better.
That's
Can you
better.
hear me now?
Everybody can
Yeah.
hear.
So I also want to agree with Vedran. I think it's really incredible. I've been in Dayton for now 7 days for the first time ever. And I was first just honored and humbled by the amount of hospitality we have received as artists. I was also really impressed with the vision of Congressman Turner's office and the entire organizing team, including the arcade where my installation is and the culture works, to see how much in these days of NATO Assembly there's culture involved, and how many of cultural activities, and not just exchange with artists from other countries, but also with local young artists. On this installation at the arcade, I worked with young art students, and some of them were able to show and exhibit their work in Dayton during these days. So that's really remarkable. I was also impressed with the amount of galleries and art that was in Dayton, even though it's not a major city. There's so much culture here, and I think that needs to be applauded too, that the understanding that some of the negotiation and some of kind of looking toward the future needs to be done through art and through cultural exchange. And I think that is the path to continue. I think we really need to dedicate our time to kind of giving the voice to the young people and young artists, and really giving them opportunity to collaborate and to work together, maybe with, you know, the mentorship, and show them how this cultural exchange could really enrich everybody's, not just lives, but also cultural practice. I think it's really incredible to see what happens with a young artist when you extend your hand to them and you give them a pat on the shoulder. It's
very powerful.
It's a very, very powerful moment, and that's how we continue. I think we need to really dedicate time for the new generations to listen to them a little more, to let them speak a little more. The installation Think Freedom has messages for now from kids from 26 different cities. Answer the question, what does freedom mean to you? And the reason why we do that is because I feel it very strongly that we need to give those kids kind of a microphone, like my microphone, to hear their voice a little bit louder. But also to see like young artists, and even though they live in the global world and they have all all the information accessible. I have seen that even digitally, they still stay within their own community and within their own familiar environment. If we give them the opportunity to travel and to continue working in different cultures, I think that can have a long-term impact.
Well, Bonnie, what about the Sister City program here? Its current status, I think you mentioned to me, you've got a trip coming up. I know during my tour of duty, there was a Sister City relationship, very productive, between Harare, Zimbabwe, and Cincinnati, Ohio. And I even spent some time with the then mayor of Cincinnati in the Queen City, working on that. But where is the Sister City program now, Bonnie, and your plans and your needs?
Yeah, so we have a program through the Embassy and the State Department called the Youth Leadership Program, where we bring students from 3 cities in Bosnia, and they get to come here for a couple of weeks. So we will be doing that again. They'll be able to be here in November when we have the 30th anniversary celebration for the signing of the peace accords. We also have a program where we have students from CJ that do an exchange with students in Augsburg.
What is CJ?
Oh, Shamar Julian. It's at one of the high schools.
Oh, wonderful. Here in the city of Dayton.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yep. And then we have a couple of students that we do exchanges with for OISO, Japan. So definitely continuing those, looking to want to do additional ones. You know, we've even talked from meeting here about doing artist exchanges, and so definitely look forward to the possibilities. I feel like we had really started to ramp up, and then this weird thing happened, in case you didn't know, in 2020. And I feel like we're...
And what was that called again?
I think it was called COVID.
Yeah.
The plague. But we have been kind of like rebuilding since then, not being able to have those exchanges. We did a lot of things on Zoom, but being able to be in person, being able to have youth really come to experience all the different cultures is important.
And where can the community here in Dayton and Montgomery County, the Miami Valley, how could they get involved more with Sister Cities, you think, going forward? Or, you know, sort of what's on your wish list?
Yeah, so well, first thing I would say is go to the website and check it out. And see if there's something that you would be interested in, if there is a city that you would be interested in learning more about. Right now, the first thing that comes to mind is we are going to be looking for host families for the students when they come here in November. And then, you know, giving support.
And they could access interest in that through your website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, you know, expressing interest and really wanting to build relationships is the reason why I joined Sister Cities, wanting to be able to spread the interests of different cultures to our community.
Vijan, tell us more about your symphony and how can we, again, in that first round, we're trying to kind of set the table here, but where might and could the symphony that you're the great leader of work more with this community here in Dayton and the Miami Valley, and sort of, you know, what's on your bucket list, sir?
What I would like, yeah, it would be nice to be here every year and to have a tour.
and eat good food and drink good drink.
Yes, and enjoying this hospitality which we have here. So that would be, for example, that would be nice. But of course, it's very expensive. So let's be realistic. Yeah, as Adina mentioned, our young generations are our future. And I think we just should whisper them, you know, some advices and let them go further, let them go for it. I think that these exchanges, what Bonnie just said, are a great opportunity for them. And also, myself, I'm working I'm professor at the university in Sarajevo for 25 years, and whenever we had kind of exchange, it just resulted with the good things. After the war, in 95, our music academy, I'm professor at the music academy, basically needed this for recovering. It was completely destroyed, especially for the teachers. You know, we didn't have anything. So exchange helped us. Later on, exchange is really a way to meet other people, to introduce yourself to somebody else. For example, at Thursday we will play just composers from Bosnia and Herzegovina who composed music until 95, until Dayton. And connect universities would be really nice to see, and this is, I think, one of the way it should be next step. Of course, as you mentioned, just us, like symphony orchestra, like philharmonics. As I said, we had great opportunity and great exchange with young, just graduated students 10 or a little bit more than 10 years ago. These instruments which we were missing, those deficits we had from the States with one exchange program, we were financing it, you know, together, and that lasted for a couple of years. Unfortunately, that stopped. I think that it would be nice now, since we are here, to think about how it can be done again.
Right, and where is American Embassy Sarajevo fitting into this? Is there public affairs office? I mean, when I was in Harare, we had the International Visitor Program, IV program. I don't know if any of you have taken advantage of that, but is the cultural section there at the American Embassy in Sarajevo working with you on any future plans, or is that maybe something to put on the to-do list? Or?
Yeah, that could be also nice. To be honest, I really don't know everything what the American Embassy does in Sarajevo, but I know for these things which we are doing together. And last couple of years we made really great projects, really great projects. U.S. Embassy supported that, and we are always in contact for this, what we do together. We have great contact with the American Embassy, and always whenever there was an idea to do something which would be nice to present also, especially American art and culture in Sarajevo, we made a couple of really great projects with musicals, for example, with some great American artists.
Well, maybe I can be your pro bono consultant.
You can sing.
To help. Well, you don't want me to sing. But no, we don't want to do that. But you might want me to help with how do you better connect with that embassy?
Yes, please. Yes.
And the ambassador and the DCM and what we call the EUR Bureau at Maine State.
Yeah.
And the Office of Southeastern Europe Affairs and maybe offline we can discuss that.
It would be wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, so Debbie, where do you see potential for your wonderful dance troupe? And you might want to just share with the audience. I was very touched. Your mother started this dance company, and we should give props to her. But maybe, where might the dance company work with, cultural entities, either the Ohio Council of the Arts, and again, a shout out to the congressman, our governor, Mike DeWine was here, who's been a terrific governor here in Ohio. Where might the dance company find other opportunities?
Well, I think that list can be, endless. I think that...
But maybe find a few things that we could actually get done.
Find a few things that we could actually get done just sitting here with these panelists. I haven't seen the installation at the arcade yet, but I am very intrigued about how it would inspire dance, that a dance could be created that happens in real time in space and place. I am very intrigued to find out more about the music that you play and think about creating opportunities for DCDC to dance, with the orchestra in the background. I think building relationships and building opportunities to share when the Bosnian students come in November, I would love to host a day at DCDC, where movement becomes part of their practice. You know, I think we all move, and I think there are many, many opportunities. As you would like to tour here once a year, I would like to tour. I would like to tour. I would like to take the company to Sarajevo. I would like for Sarajevo to have the experience of seeing what DCDC offers in performance and cultural exchange and community engagement. We rarely go to a space and just perform. It's about engaging with the pockets of community. So open to all opportunities and experiences that let us exchange, let us come together, let us build something new together. Again, I'm creative, I'm a dancer, so politically I don't know how to do that except to put it out there to say that we're open to it and would very much like to serve in the capacity of an arts ambassador in the field of dance to not only our sister city, Bosnia, but wherever the world might take us.
Yep.
Well, maybe the five of us can form an informal brain trust and see what we might do together. Every year in Harare, the Harare International Festival of the Arts, and one of the years from a public high school at 118 Main Street in Binghamton, New York, Central High School, where I graduated, we got the local utility, Debbie, to pay for a 10-student dance troupe, along with a couple of their instructors and sponsors to come out and participate, 16, 17-year-olds. What an amazing experience. And perhaps, you know, with the private sector here in Ohio, and I always like to kind of think big, but also the few things that are doable. And so in that instance, they paid for the airfare. We had, you know, when you said you're looking for host families, right? We had families house the students and the sponsors, and we fed them and transportation. But you know, there are lots of things you could do if there's the will to do that. I'd like to see, do you all want to pose questions to each other at all? And, you know, have some more interaction.
Yeah, well, I definitely wanted to.
You're not shy, I've learned.
I'm not shy. I'm just
so
having technical difficulties.
Well, now
There
you're
we go.
working. So
Now I'm not.
So if you'd
No.
like to ask one of the panelists, Adina, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I think what you were saying about interdisciplinary collaboration between artists, that has been such an amazing part of this installation, because we worked with modern dancers, we worked with artists who are acoustic artists. I wasn't even sure that there was a entire discipline of artists, so not musicians, but acoustic artists. And we worked with photographers, and we worked with, in Slovakia, we had the installation, and I knew that the local music academy was working with us, but I didn't really know in what capacity. And I was so busy with hanging the installation. At the opening, I looked over at the notes that the students were using to play. On top, it said "Think Freedom." So they had a whole composition made for the installation, and that's where kind of my entire ideas came open, because other art disciplines, like communicating with people who are not from your background and who are from different countries and different cultures, your mind just opens up, you know, to new ideas and new ways of seeing. And I also wanted to kind of make this connection, because I was the exchange student and it has changed my life. I think it's really incredible what happens when you take a young person from the comfort, well, I guess all of us, from the comfort zone, and you put him into another environment. Like these, like you said, magical things happen.
It's opening a whole new world.
Opens a whole new world, but I also think what's really important is for the artists, and I will call out my community, which is contemporary visual artists, to start speaking in the language that the public can understand, to extend our hand to the public. and to really come into the public space. I think we are past the time where we need to expect the public to show up at the museum, show up at the gallery, and be so knowledgeable to understand what, I have so many times people tell me, I don't know what contemporary art is. Can you explain what contemporary art is? Can anybody relate in the audience to what I'm saying?
No, what does it mean? What does it mean in late art?
Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get contemporary
Yeah.
art. What is it?
But
So
they-
tell us.
So word contemporary, do we understand the word contemporary?
Yes.
Means of this time. I mean right?
Yes.
An artist is an art.
Yes.
So contemporary art means the art that is being created today.
But we have to meet the public where they
But
are.
yet we have complicated it so much and made it so difficult to comprehend that everybody thinks, I see you're shaking your head, that in order to see something, you have to read a book or listen to a critic. I disagree with
Or a
that
podcast or
completely.
something.
Or a podcast. I disagree with that 100%. Your arts I will not speak about because I
have
don't
the
know
same
your
problem.
art. But visual art, you either get it or you don't get it. You either connect to it or you don't. You don't need to explain to anybody why you connect
You
to it.
enjoy or not?
You enjoy it or you not. You hear a piece of music and you either have an emotional reaction
not.
or you don't. No, you are not mandated to explain it to anybody, to justify what you're feeling, to I don't know, be super wise to. I think that's completely wrong. I think that is what has put artists on the margins of our society and away from any kind of negotiating table where we're talking about our future. I have been to so many forums about strategic vision forward where I was the only artist. So artists were kind of left out of this conversation about our hope for the future of our society. And that's why I
Right,
applaud this entire organization effort to really put in arts into
right.
into this conversation about our future.
Debbie, do you want to react to that?
Yeah, I mean, my reaction is the same. We deal with the same challenge in contemporary dance. Contemporary dance is less than 100 years old. It's not traditional ballet format. Nobody understands it. We hear, I don't want to come to a program if I don't understand it, or if I feel like I have to sit there and figure it out. But to your point, you just come and you experience it. You come and you walk away with your own feeling, your own thoughts about what it is. We spend a lot of time talking about we shouldn't have to explain it. Please just come experience it. Please, if you come experience it, you will walk away with something. You will walk away with your soul being stirred in some kind of a way. But people are always looking for an explanation, or how do I understand this, or how should I approach it? You just come into the space and you just have the experience, because I really truly believe that that's what art is. It's an experience. It's an experience for each individual human to have from their own lens.
And maybe if we can just lift this expectation we place on the audience, you don't have to get it. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to explain what you just heard or saw. You just, like you said, have to experience it.
Enjoy.
And enjoy. And you might not enjoy it, and that's perfectly okay.
Yes.
You might
Yeah.
completely not have any kind of connection to it, and that is also fine.
In my first trip to Africa as an undergrad at George Washington, going to Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, and Benin, the dance was so powerful in the different countries. And even if you didn't speak Tree or Fanti or whatever the local dialect was, that visual image, Debbie, and the movements and the power. And again, back to Serafina for a minute, that was their way of dealing with all that was being thrown at them. And it was a wonderful window for someone like me to see that experience at that time, in the run-up to the Mandela elections in '94. Would you like to add, sir, to what you've been hearing? Ask a question of one of our colleagues? I don't think you're shy either, so maybe you'd like to address one of our
I'm
colleagues.
not. Well, you know, all my life I'm on the stage, so this is really natural to me. All my life, since I was 6, I am on these.
What is your instrument? I mean, you're
clarinet. I'm
clarinetist. Interesting.
Yes, I'm clarinetist also who played a lot of contemporary music.
All right.
Most of my career played contemporary music, and I agree with everything what they said. There is even one famous American composer who made one really nice piece for piano, and it's called 533. You know what it means? It's duration. And there are 3 movements. It's for piano, written for piano. You know how does it look like? Pianist comes on stage, and there are like 3 movements, like normal sonata. First is like fast one, second one is slow one, third movement is fast one. And he comes to the piano, prepare for first movement, does this because it's fast tempo, and does nothing else. Nothing else. It's just quiet. And then it's break, of course, between movements. He puts his hands down, then goes again, but it's slow movement. And then again, nothing for a minute. And puts hands, and third movement. And he just stand up and leaves. And that was the great piece. Why? His philosophy of music was, if you are even on the quietest place on earth, you would hear music. You would hear music of your body. Your body creates music. So if you didn't know, why is it so relaxing when you have nice and quiet, you know, kids are sleeping, husband, wife, or whatever, you know, and it's really nice, peace and quiet, you are enjoying music of your body.
Can I follow up on that?
Sure, please.
Of all the art forms, if we think about it, dance is the most natural because we all come into this world moving, right? That is the first thing we do. So it is really intrinsic to all of us. All dance really is a formalized way of moving in a different style. So as you're talking about, music is inbred in all of us. I mean, we have to learn to paint. We have to learn to sculpt. We have to learn to play an instrument.
A clarinet.
But moving, we all naturally do. And so if we expand our horizons to think that we are all movers, dancers, you know, very stipulated in movement, then I think we can open up our brains to think about dance, particularly contemporary dance, because that's where I stand, and we can look at it differently. We can peel, it's an onion. You got to peel back the layers to get to what the center really is. But if we will allow ourselves to think about dance as a natural being of our humanity, we all as humans move. And, you know, we have different degrees and different levels of movement, but we all move. Breathing is movement.
But
Well
so
stated.
Many,
Yeah.
so, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's
That's
so many
okay.
people who will come to you and say, I don't know how to dance. I can't dance.
Yeah.
I
Correct.
can't dance.
Correct.
I can't dance.
Correct.
I
And
don't know how
say,
to
yes,
paint.
you can.
I get people, I'm not creative. How is that possible? We were born with an innate need to leave marks. Every baby or a little kid you know wants to either scratch up something or put their hand on something. So I also think we need to spend some time with our education, arts education, and make it less about creating master pianists or master ballet dancers and make it more about learning how to use art to live. You can incorporate art and art making, dancing or whatever, into any career. And I think life without creation, no matter what your career is, has to be, a certain
Bonnie,
kind of help.
sure. Bonnie, what would you like to add?
Well, I was going to say that everyone is creative. Even if you are an accountant, you are creative with numbers. Hopefully not in a bad way. But
Yeah, not funny math or something.
But no, I agree. Everyone is creative in some way. And as we were continuing this conversation, and we kept saying, like, just because you don't understand the art doesn't mean you shouldn't experience it. And I feel that way about cultures also. I was able to have the opportunity to do an exchange program in Denmark when I was in college. And so that, changed the way that I thought about things. And bringing young people here or taking them somewhere else to be able to experience those cultures, I think, is so important. And last year even, we asked the students, like, what do you think about Americans? And they're like, well, you're all fat, you have guns, and you have a white picket fence. And that was not the case. So there's those conversations that you have to have, and there's always interesting things or little breakdowns in communication. When I hosted a student, we were at the grocery store, standing in the salad dressing aisle, and she's like, why are there so many? And I'm like, I don't know, because we want what we want when we want it. And she's like, would you have red wine? And I'm like, yeah, I have red wine. She meant red wine vinegar, and I didn't have that. I just had red wine. And
You will have vinegar as well. Just let it.
Yeah,
It will be vinegar,
Just keep
but
it long enough.
so there are those little things. She and I, every morning when we would get up, we would sit for an hour on the porch drinking coffee, and she would ask me about something new that she didn't understand, like divorce. And one day she was asking about healthcare. I don't know how to tell her about that either. So, it was interesting to see each of our perspectives and be able to experience that. And she and I are still close. When I was in Banja Luka last year, I was able to visit with her when everything shut down for the pandemic. I was messaging her to check on her and her family because she was at school in Germany and wasn't allowed to go back to Bosnia. So, it builds a lot of relationships. It helps them learn about communications, cultures. So I think that those are all
Wonderful.
important.
Well, let's open it up now to the audience. And we're trying to see everybody. And maybe there are a few mics out there, and and we've got a couple of folks up front. It's a little hard maybe to see everything in the back, but sir, would you stand and just ask a question, please?
Yes, first of all, thank you. This has been a fantastic conversation. I think art is one of those elements that brings about a sense of civilization. And it's an underrated concept. It's an underrated activity. With that in mind, I attend an annual art event in northern Nevada where there's large-scale art installations. And many times those art installations invoke powerful emotions. Some of the art installations have brought together conflicting parties, specifically the Ukrainians and the Russians. But we've also watched it become a point of propaganda and used as a political tool. So much so that last year, around a number of the large art installations, they had to bring in extra armed security. How do you safeguard yourself in terms of your artistic expression, in terms of politics and propaganda?
Well, Gina, maybe you should take that, the installation of art.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. Art needs its donors. In socialism during Yugoslavia, art was 100% subsidized by the state, and artists would receive housing and benefits, and their works were purchased by publicly owned companies and things like that. When I came to the United States and I started exhibiting in New York, it was 100% capitalism. So no subsidies, but you were out in the open market. And there is something beneficial to say for both. It's really difficult when you have one client and one donor, whether that's a state or anybody. Even though that's a safer, obviously, existence and more, I guess, easier, then you also have to dance to the music of the donor. But if you have many clients...
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But if you have many clients, then it's less safe and it's a lot more insecurity, but yet you can do whatever you want to do, except you have to find the marketplace for that. So, financing for contemporary art, and I'll talk about visual art, there's no perfect model that I have seen in the Western Hemisphere. I have very little experience in Asia and none in Africa, but for Europe and United States, I don't see a perfect model at all. And the financing is what can make art, what can influence art. I think for me, my personal opinion is that we need art, we need lots of art. And sometimes we also need political art that we don't agree with. And sometimes we need art that is not political that we still don't agree with. I think the age of social media has really did us disservice because we think we live diverse lives. We think we have access information. We think we can reach people from different cultures, but however, we stay within our own community that is all equal minds, and we don't want to hear the other side.
Well, let's take another question.
I don't know if that answers.
Thank you.
Might you stand and let's speak up a little bit?
My concern is that we're living in an era of reduced visas, a general feeling of isolationism, or people not appreciating the value of cultural exchange as a bipartisan issue. And I'm wondering what you think about how we can maintain the exchanges that we even have had, that we have enjoyed for the past 50 years in the current global climate.
Well, let me take that one if that's okay. Great point. It should be bipartisan. It should be nonpartisan. Having traveled 5 continents extensively, either as a diplomat or international lawyer, I found people more the same than they're different. And you need to meet them where they are. You need to appreciate their cultures and the food. But that is what sustains us, right? That is what sustains us. And I think we need to express to our elected officials how we feel about that. And the congressman here can speak for himself, but he obviously believes in the cross-cultural, to bring people together and supporting the State Department, that America is open, that we can travel abroad, people can travel here. It should be a nonpartisan, bipartisan issue, but it's good that you flagged that. And again, how do we ensure this going forward? To express our views to our elected officials, I think to support international studies programs. How did I get to West Africa as a 20-year-old from George Washington University? I went through the Experiment in International Living, which is in Brattleboro, Vermont. I ended up serving on their board later after I was an ambassador. And then a nice couple in Binghamton paid a lot of the trip, who kind of knew me because I wasn't in a place with any money. So those exchange programs, those study abroad, and so many people, students are doing it, have done it. We need to continue that. And good for you to ask that question. I know we're getting a little short of time, sir, down here, but thank you for the question.
Thank you, Ambassador. My name is Eric Nelson. I'm the former U.S. Ambassador to Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Wonderful.
Your
Excellency, thank you.
I can second the value of these investments, and I'm glad you are paying testimony about how the U.S. government supports these efforts. And it's very helpful to hear everyone's testimony to the value of this kind of interaction. As a lifelong diplomat, I know the benefits are priceless, but also as an alumna of an exchange program and a former Peace Corps volunteer, I know how transformative this can be. And I encourage everyone who has an opportunity to volunteer or to study abroad or to be a host family to jump at it, because it will be incredibly enriching. To the point of resources, it's a very important question. It's a very timely question. The State Department budget supporting all of these activities right now, this year was about $750 million. That's, to your point, with very strong bipartisan support. These programs, many of them are named for senators and other leaders because they value the returns that America gets from these. Of that $750 million in the next spending bill just approved by Congress this week, 93% is gone. So I'm glad you all are here today. Just think about, and I hope you appreciate the value of this. I believe, from my experience, that this is $3 a taxpayer is a coffee. I think it's your money well spent, but it's a very current discussion. So I'm glad you're here and thinking about it, and I encourage all of you to think about the opportunities this can bring to your community and your family.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Maybe we got time for one last question. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, I'm a student from University of Cincinnati. I'm from Dayton. So I've actually been to Kenya and Tanzania to help provide clean water.
Terrific.
Thank you. Rural communities through an organization called Engineers Without Borders. And with all these projects, the biggest challenge is always communication between ourselves and the community leaders. So my question is, what are some things my organization, other like-minded organizations can do to foster greater connection between ourselves and our communities that we work with?
Why don't I have Bonnie? Why don't you take that? It's sort of like a little bit of Sister City, and go ahead. Thank you for the question.
So I think that communication is key, but like we just talked about, really it's money. To be able to continue exchange programs and the like, we need to be able to fund them. But as far as communication goes, working with people that are in different cities, I think it's just like thinking about them like they're your family. You know, you want to, well, some people don't like their family, but you know, having that kind of like break bread thought process. You know, when we all got together for the first time, it was on Zoom, but it was like we were already friends. Just having a passion for the arts, for cultural exchanges, having those like-minded thoughts, I think, really helped with the communication for us.
Well, I think we want to thank the panel and thank all of you for coming, and I thought this was a great exchange. So thank you very much, everyone. And thanks so much to the panel again.